Okay, so let's continue with our talk on this particular piece of literature here. One of the reasons that I'm doing this is I want to kind of show you how to go through and dissect an article and pick out the important pieces. Because when you do your literature review and you have all this literature in front of you, you want to narrow it down to about 50 to 100 articles. And, reading 100 articles, that could take the whole 9 weeks. So you don't need to read everything from beginning to end. You need to know how to scan through and, get the gist of it. So as I was saying previously in the first video, you want to look at the title first. Okay, the title should give you a good idea of what is in the article. The title for this particular article actually told me the methodology that they're using grounded theory, that it's a grounded theory study. So right there, I know that that is the methodology that they used. And, I might want to include 1 or 2 more articles with grounded theory, but then I might want to also find some other methodologies. So the title should show you a lot. The next thing here is right here under the authors. This is the abstract. This is the next thing that I would tell you to review when you're reviewing your literature. If the title grabs you, read the abstract. Okay, because the abstract should really condense the entire article for you, okay? And it can tell you whether or not, do I really want to use this or do I want to scrap it, okay? So a lot of good information should come from the abstract if it's well written. And here we're really talking about the introduction. This is what you're seeing here, and they're introducing the problem and they're telling you the purpose of the study. And then as you go down, they're beginning to show you why it's important. And if you were to read through all of this, you would see, and you can kind of see it here, they have all of these various authors here that they're using. Not necessarily quoting, but paraphrasing. You want to paraphrase, and then you want to give credit to the authors. So as I look through this and just glance through, I can see here they've got some studies that they're citing. And then here I can see they're giving some percentages, and then on down, here's another study. So this is a lot of evidence, and that's what they're providing. When you're writing a paper like this, you're not giving your opinion, you are providing evidence. And you may have heard the term standing on the shoulders of giants. So you're taking what someone else did and you're standing on their shoulders and looking forward, okay? So you're not saying, hey, this is my opinion, you're saying, this is what was studied by these particular authors. And these authors are known in their field, they're respected in their field. Okay, so here they are justifying the importance of the problem. They're briefly describing categories of studies. So they're kind of condensing. They may not, that's why you see here there's a couple of different citations. Like, for example, here, this is Carter, Nolan, Adams, Campbell, and Williams, 1996, so that's one study. Here's another, Fleury and Lee, 2006, so that's a second study. And then Henderson and Ainsworth, 2000, King et al., 2000. So you're just saying, all of these people have addressed this problem, and this is how they did it, okay? So factors influencing participation in physical activity among African American women have been increasingly studied. Important factors identified in previous studies include the social and physical environment, caregiving, family responsibility role, hair types, time, cost, enjoyment, and embarrassment. Okay, so these are topics and parts of studies that all of these authors have studied, and they've just kind of condensed it and said, these are the factors that were identified by these particular people, okay? And here it says the authors identify a total of 4 deficiencies within the literature on pages 2 and 3. So here it says studies are not available that weave these factors together to portray an overall understanding of how African American women become and stay physically active. They're identifying a deficiency, and that's what you want to do. People have studied your topic. Whatever it is, someone has studied it, I guarantee you. What you want to do is identify a gap or a deficiency, someplace where you can write about, you can put your input, okay? And so right here, very clearly, it says, although this body of literature provides insight into why African American women do not participate in physical activity, studies are not available that weave these factors together to portray an overall understanding of how African American women become and stay physically active. So you see, you're basically, what they're saying here is there is literature that gives insight into this topic, but what this literature doesn't do is this, okay? So that's kind of your way in, all right? Here it says, however, they do not elucidate the pathways linking the key factors and steps in a behavioral process that result in subsequent physical activity participation. So again, they're identifying a gap in the literature, a place, a reason for you to be doing the study that you want to do, okay? We don't want to research stuff that somebody else has already researched. There's no need for that, okay? Here's another one. It says, even those that have found support for existing behavioral theories, including investigation of the trans-theoretical model, and then they're giving a little citation for that, where they found that in the literature, have not been focused on illustrating the behavioral process of physical activity, adoption, and maintenance, okay? So where it says have not been focused, okay, so they're saying there have been studies on this in the past, but they haven't focused on it from this perspective. Okay, so these are some of the things that you're going to need to do in your study. You want to identify the gaps and the deficiencies in the literature that give you a place to come in and study it from a different direction or a different perspective. Okay, and then here's the last one here. It says, however, a behavioral theory or framework is not currently available explaining the full process from behavioral adoption through maintenance in this domain. So yeah, they identified 4 different deficiencies within that literature right off the bat. All right, and then it says the authors conclude their introduction with a statement of the purpose of their study. So it says the purpose of this study was to understand this behavioral process among African American women through the development of a theoretical framework explaining the pathways linking the key factors together that result in subsequent integration of physical activities in the lifestyle. So notice it says the purpose of this study was, okay? And so you need to, be able to define the purpose of your study. And then it says the authors hint at audiences that can benefit from this research, but could have made a stronger statement about potential audiences, such as those who might develop health prevention programs for African American women. Okay, it says right up here, it says that would be most effective in informing interventions to enhance physical activity participation. So the critiquer of this article is saying that they're hinting at the audience that can benefit from this research, because that is something you also want to address. who is going to benefit from this research that you are doing. And here the critiquer of this one is saying they could have made a stronger statement about potential audiences, such as those who might develop health prevention programs for African American women. Okay, and that's pretty much it for this article. One other thing that I want to say right here from the beginning, because like I said, this is to try to help you get off in the right foot. You're going to be writing a problem statement, a purpose statement, research questions, and a hypothesis, and then you're going to be selecting a population and a sample. You're going to be picking variables, okay? All of those need to be in alignment, okay? So what does that mean? Well, you cannot say the problem is XYZ and then say the purpose of this study is to determine ABC, okay? Do you see what I'm saying there? It must be the problem is XYZ. The purpose of this statement is to determine XYZ. So whatever words you are using in your problem statement, you must also use in your purpose statement. You must use them in your research question. You must use them in your hypothesis. You must use them in your variables, okay? The problem is XYZ. The purpose is to study XYZ. The hypothesis is XYZ. Make sure you're using the same language. And I think sometimes students try to overthink a little bit. And once you've written a good, solid problem statement, the purpose statement, the research questions, the hypothesis, it's all really just a different way of stating that problem statement. And you want to use the same language. Okay, so don't say the problem is XYZ, and then in your hypothesis, you're listing A, B, and C. Okay? Very focused on one problem. That's what I want to see. Okay? So I hope this has been helpful. I will give you a ton of feedback throughout the course in the grade book. Make sure you review the grade book. I will be posting a lot of announcements, a lot of different videos and questions and things in the discussion. You should review everything. In the discussion, you don't have to respond to everything, but you should read everything. Okay, because I may be asking another student a question, and that student may answer and I may respond, and that may help you. Okay, you don't have to respond, but just reading what I have said to the other students may be relevant to you. Okay, so that's why I say read everything in the discussion. You don't have to respond to everything, of course, but you should read everything, because you never know when there might be a little nugget of information that helps you connect the dots and helps you focus and pull it all together. The other thing I would say is, take breaks. Don't get overwhelmed. Work on it every day. Okay, you're going to be reviewing a lot of literature, and you cannot do that in 5 minutes. All right, you need to be reviewing articles every day. I would start now. I would start by going and looking at Oxford Reference and reading Oxford Reference or Credo or Wikipedia about my topic. And then from there, I would get some articles. Okay, I would go find those articles. I would read them. I would go down to the reference page for those articles, and I would get more articles and read those. And that will help you really get started on the right path and off on the right foot. Okay, so I hope you found this helpful, and I will see you guys in the discussion. Looking forward to seeing everybody's topics.